Alright, so I'm in the middle of it. Well, not near the middle, but I'm driving down to Texas. I was up in Washington and I got this extremely good delivery down to Galveston, which is going to pay me over $200,000. So I said that sounds like good money, and here we are. This is the border between Idaho and Oregon, the Snake River, and we're just gonna keep going up here and do this. Um, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about the news and looking at Trump, and I hope he gets impeached soon. He is violating the law, and his immigration rules are unconstitutional and a breaking of his authority. Um, the lack of recognition for green card holders for their right to live and work in the United States by this administration is blatantly illegal and needs to be overturned by the courts. They cannot do that. His quota that immigration needs to turn away so many people is absurd, and meaning that people who are doing nothing wrong are getting punished, which is un-American, unconstitutional, and wrong. Um, and it needs to end. And he needs to be removed from office as soon as possible. He is dangerous. He is a fascist. I am remembering that back in the Third Reich, one of the first changes Hitler made was he restricted travel in and out of Germany. You saw the implementation of exit visas. You saw the restriction of people to travel into Germany, and that lasted from 33 to 45. And that wasn't other countries. That was fully Germany's policy. America's current policy, which is turning away people who have the right to come here without a full-blown visa, and even turning away Canadians just because that person doesn't like Donald Trump, is un-American, and it is an insult to my country, and it needs to end. And the courts need to get a backbone, and members of Congress need to realize that what Trump is doing is that he's trampling Congress's authority. Congress is the only branch of our government which has the right to make such legal changes, and Trump is trampling congressional authority here in a way that in testing the bounds of our Constitution. This is impeachable. This is why impeachment exists. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, though I do. I do care. But Republicans need to oppose this as much as Democrats. We need to give him nothing, and he needs to be removed from office. And that needs to happen soon so we can save our republic. Because what's happening right now is just abhorrent and disgusting and needs to end. That's where I'm at, and I'm angry, and a lot of people are angry, and it needs to end. It needs to stop. What's going on right now is absolutely unacceptable and needs to stop. That's keeping me up at night, and I might be moving to Chicago soon, potentially. I'm talking about a job there, so I'm hoping I get it. It's going to pay good money. It's going to be a good long-term career. A company I think I can stay at for the long term. It will be nice to be close to family. It will be nice to be employed. Oh, I love New York, love Jersey City. It's a wonderful area. Some time in Chicago I think will do me some good. So I've been trying to find a job locally, though that has been challenging. I think in a week this company will hire me on. So when I'm not streaming video games and reading the news, I need to be doing some studying for my coding test, which is coming up. They're going to send me some study materials. So I'll be doing that all of next week, preparing for the job, and then moving. So very excited about that. I want to get that done. I want to get paid good money. It's going to be really nice to get a good, stable paycheck again. I'm very disappointed my startup has failed to make money. I thought we were going to. The product's good, we didn't get people to sign up. that's it. So that's the end of that. Most importantly, I just need a stable job, and I think I found it. Once I pass the coding exam on Tuesday, I think they're going to say, yeah, we'll hire you. When can you be in Chicago? And then I will call my aunt and say, can I stay at your house for a week as I find housing? And I think they would like having me over for a bit. So yeah, that'll be good. I'm still thinking about, if I have the money in a few years to just travel the world, I would like to do that. My original plan was to take the startup, make money there, make a few $1,000,000, and then do a travel vlog here on this YouTube channel, and that's clearly not going to happen. It was a dream, but I'm bummed that's not going to end up being my future, at least immediately. But someday I want to be able to do the whole world. I wish I could have done it, could have been doing it already, but that didn't end up happening. So, oh well. This new job is going to pay me good money. It will get me in data engineering. I can do that for 3 years and then get a senior engineer for 5 years, same company or somewhere else, and then move on to my next step of whatever I want. Do a startup, make $1,000,000, and then travel. So I'm 32 right now, so I think by the time I reach 40, I should be able to do that if I play my cards right. And I think I'll be able to do some pretty cool stuff if I do things right. It's funny, some recruiters say that I'm job hopping too much, and the first job hop to Infosys was something I needed just to double my pay. Well, I wanted to stay at Infosys longer than I did, but they were having trouble placing me. But I'm hoping this next job I'll be able to keep for several years, and the next higher job beyond this next role is going to be a major upgrade. My paycheck will already be good, but I'm looking for an even better paycheck imminently in a few years, which will be very, very nice. And then do a tech startup, launch that over 6 months, and move on from there. So I see no reason why this won't work. I'm really excited. That's my plan. I should take a nap at the way station. It's already midnight. Let's just keep driving. There's not much. There's something to see, but let's just keep going. Look at that, $700,000 in the bank in this game. Yeah, I've won it. There's no doubt. I definitely won American Truck Simulator. Now I'm just waiting for more maps, which should be coming out eventually. I've explored most of Arkansas. I think Louisiana is the next state to come out. I don't think they have announced exactly when that will be. Let's see, if I go into... One second. I have my iPad open here so I can... It's kind of funny how I've become using Macs so often. Though, unfortunately, Safari doesn't do ad blocking as well as Firefox, so I might just switch over to my Pi. Alright, let's go to 84 East. There's nothing to see. Well, there is. There is stuff to see here. It's not quite Tatooine. It's, of course, Tunisia. Oh, wait. No, shoot. No, I did that right. Never mind. It doesn't matter. Even if I went on to 86, I could then go south on 15. Not a big deal. Yeah, no kidding. I haven't gone through a way station for a while. Should probably do that. Let's make this daytime again. Here we go. There's something to see. It's not completely desolate. I should increase the difficulty and make it so I need to sleep again. That would be good. Let's see. Okay, so they released a blog post about truck stops in Louisiana on March 5th. But they haven't done too much yet. They posted the teaser in September of 2024, so I think they'll release Louisiana within a year. That will be good. What other states are to be determined? Missouri. Wait, they haven't released it yet. Current or future project. Okay, so they haven't released it yet. But they have released... Ooh, they're releasing Missouri on April 3rd. I will definitely need to get that soon. Once I have a paycheck, which I should have by then. That will be nice. And then, obviously, stream it here and have some fun. Yeah, so Missouri is the next map expansion to be released. Be released on April 3rd. That will be fun. Good, good. It's pretty dry once you get east of the Cascades. The Great Intermountain West. Not too many people. Pretty though. Yeah, so I think this is what I want to do this afternoon, and then maybe do some Euro Truck Simulator. I don't know yet. Honestly, this drive might be enough for me. It's 29 hours left in game, so... There we go. New state, Utah. I kind of want to visit Utah because I have some friends there I miss. friends from long. I met one of them in high school, and then her husband in college. Nice people. They have 2 kids. I miss them. They're basically the only people I know in Utah, but they are worth a visit. They make it worth a visit. And I really wish we could do was, so there used to be a train that went from Portland to Salt Lake City via Boise. I wish that train would come back, because then what I could do when going back to Washington from the East Coast, I could take the train through Salt Lake City, stay there a day or 2, visit my friends, and then take the train up to Portland, and then Cascades back up to Washington. That's what I want to be able to do. That's what I want, but I don't know if I'll ever get to do that. I'm sure that what Trump's going to do is he's going to illegally reduce funding for Amtrak and all of that. But don't worry, your taxes won't go down. You're just not going to get much out of it. That's the other thing. If you actually look at federal spending, it's just all the programs they're cutting have little to do with the budget. That's a lie. It's just Elon Musk sees transit and Amtrak as a threat to his business as a car manufacturer. That's all it comes down to. It's just pure corruption. There's nothing else to it. It's very simple. It's so obvious, so blatant. And most of your mandatory spending is OASI and Medicare, so people depend on OASI, and Medicare would be really incredibly stupid to eliminate. That would be such a bad decision. You'd actually end up having less money overall for most seniors if you got rid of Medicare. I mean, I could see some reform of OASI because it doesn't pay that much considering what people pay in at any income level. But Medicare, that's a good program. It needs to stay the way it is. We can make some improvements, like allowing the government to negotiate for lower drug prices. There you go. You have a infographic. So in terms of total spending, if you look at the federal budget, revenues are $4.9 trillion and total outlays are $6.8 trillion. This was published 2 days ago by the Congressional Budget Office. Of that $6.8 trillion, $4.1 trillion is mandatory spending. So, but of the discretionary spending, about half of that, almost half, is defense. Defense is by far the largest expenditure of our discretionary outlays. And of the rest, it's like veterans benefits and transportation and education. Income security, so unemployment and disability, and then health programs. That's all discretionary. Everything else we spend money on is under $100 million. Everything else is under $100 billion with a B. And so not really going to make any dent in the deficit, which, they're so obsessed with. If you look at mandatory spending, that's $4.1 trillion. Most of that goes to major health programs. That's $1.6 trillion, which is divided, about half of that goes to Medicare and $600 billion goes to Medicaid. then 141 in the other category. So every other already allocated, federal health funded program in the country. The next big mandatory is obviously old age and survivors insurance at $1.3 trillion. That is the largest part. That is the single most expensive program we pay money on in the country right now, and it will be that way probably for the rest of my life. All of the rest of your mandatory spending is pretty minor, with less than with only disability and food stamps adding up to over 100 billion. But also you have civilian and military retirement benefits and veterans income security. All of those make up over 100 billion. Everything else is pretty negligible. And the other thing is, even though OASI is the biggest, most expensive program in the budget, you end up with, it's actually doesn't have any impact on the debt because it has a $4 trillion surplus because of the people paid more in than it's paid out since Reagan was president, but that's going to be drawn down. And honestly, the surplus in OASI should be higher, but since it's been put into low interest government bonds for the last 40 years, you end up with its maybe a quarter the size it should be by my estimate. But ultimately, if you look at the federal budget, what are you going to cut? Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, which does not contribute to the debt? I mean, that's $3 trillion right there. That by itself makes up half of our outlays. The rest of, you have 3 trillion approximately go to those three programs. About another 800 billion goes to the military. So that adds up to be roughly $4 trillion, which is, 2/3 of the budget. Everything else is small potatoes. You have a little bit going to transportation, which is a lot of that's due to Biden's Build Back Better Act. You have a whole bunch of programs that just help the country run. And that's where tax money goes. That's the story. That's the math according to the Congressional Budget Office. So the reality is that you cannot balance the budget without, at this point, through spending cuts. If you were to, let's look at it. You have $4.9 trillion in revenue, but your OASI, which is directly funded, and your healthcare, which privatizing that would be a big mistake, adds up to $3 trillion. And then so you can't really touch those. Everything else is small potatoes. So if you said the federal government will get out everything except healthcare, Social Security, and military, you have a $4 trillion budget. Just with those three programs. That by itself covers most of the revenue we get. So there you go. At this point, we pay about $1 trillion in interest a year, thanks to Bush and Trump, basically just those two presidents. So if we had not been running a deficit for the last, 25 years, thanks to Bush, which is obviously thanks mostly to Bush and Trump, you would be able to cut down, $1 trillion of spending, bringing us to a $900 billion deficit right there, which could easily be covered by reversing the Trump tax cuts. Here's another way to look at it. If we had not done the Bush tax cuts back in 2001, that would be adding in close to $1 trillion of revenue at this point in time. So that would bring revenues up. So our target is 6.8 trillion and we're at 4.9 trillion. If you eliminate the Bush tax cuts, you're at 5.9 trillion. You eliminate the Trump tax cuts, you're up to 6.9 trillion at least. So that covers our current spending, but there's a problem with this analysis because we have to subtract that $1 trillion of interest. So you subtract that out. If you subtract both the Bush and Trump tax cuts, you end up with, and you never do those, you have 6.9, maybe $7 trillion of revenue and a 6 trillion, the budget that's less than $6 trillion. You then would have the money to reduce taxes by $1 trillion. But because we've been doing this constant deficit spending for the last 25 years, due to those two tax breaks, we have an extra $1 trillion we need to spend every year because of those. And if you want to cut spending, again, the only things that really add up to much are your Medicare, Medicaid, and OASI. OASI is deficit neutral because it's funded with payroll tax. Cutting Medicare and Medicaid would be a really dumb idea. And no, it's just the math doesn't work is the problem. Like, there's no way to make this work aside from just reversing the Bush and Trump tax cuts, then stop issuing new bonds, pay off the debt we already have, and then you can do $1 trillion of tax breaks once you're no longer paying the interest. But at this point in time, there's a problem. America is a lot older than we were 25 years ago. So Social Security expenditure has gone up. And with that increase in OASI expenditure and more people on Medicare, the opportunity we had to, eliminate the debt is possibly gone. Unless if you were to, massively increase immigration to this country so you have more taxpayers to cover the increased budgets of having a lot of old people. But then you'd have to build housing for them. People who own houses don't want to build more housing because that reduces the value of their properties. These are the challenges we face as a country financially. Then again, you can just, at the levels we're talking about, we could just print money from the Federal Reserve. That's not the worst idea, honestly. It would work. But, a lot of people are worried that would cause inflation, which, it depends. Could, if you do it too much. But, that is really only an issue if your supply curve is pretty stagnant, which has not been America's problem for most of the last 30 years. Though we have had some supply crunches over the last in housing since 2000, and we've had supply crunches in from the oil market due to the invasion of Ukraine and due to the Iraq War. So we have suffered those supply crunches. But when you actually look at how the consumer price index is calculated, it's like 60% or so from housing. Housing makes up a huge percent of the CPI. So even if you had, negative inflation of oil prices, you are still going to have inflation because of the housing market. So that's the issue. People like to complain about the overall inflation rate. Okay, no one's a big fan of inflation. We haven't even touched hyperinflation since Reagan was president. But, nobody likes seeing inflation go up. No one enjoys it. But you have to be very careful about what is the inflation you're seeing. Why is that inflation happening? Demand crunch or supply crunch? So demand pull or supply pull? That's the big question. If it's demand pull, yeah, increase the Federal Reserve interest rates, bring the demand curve back down, and inflation will be reduced. But if it's supply pull, well, there's not much you can do from the Federal Reserve's point of view. Not much. There's nothing you can do. Because, the Federal Reserve works by creating a reduction in demand, which will create a reduction in prices at the cost of a recession. So it's what I've been really emphasizing lately, and that's, I believe, really important, because that's literally how this works. So it's tricky. It does. And there's a lot to consider when designing an economy and monetary and fiscal policy and the greater macro economy. There are things that must be considered. Yeah, that's the challenge. Go away, no. I wasn't watching my direction. That was my fault. Yeah. Yeah, if you really did care about, if someone actually did care about the federal budget deficit, then basically the only way you're going to do that is by reversing the Bush and Trump tax cuts. Eliminating OASI is not going to help the budget deficit at all. I mean, getting people a better incomes for retirement, I think, is an admirable goal. And I don't know how you do that while maintaining OASI. I don't know if you can, realistically. But, yeah, it's just challenges. Woof. It's an ugly accident. Yeah. So yeah, it just and really what they're doing is just rampant corruption, and the Bush and the Trump administration is just, they're closing down agencies illegally which were investigating Elon Musk for violating the law. That's all there is to it. The shuttering of the space shuttle program and not replacing it was a mistake. And yeah. I'm not opposed to private space travel, but I do think that making us dependent on such a small number of private companies, constantly making us new airplanes that we don't actually own, is a mistake. That is a problem. We shouldn't be. Why is the US government renting spaceships? We should own them outright. What we're doing now, I believe, is more expensive than what we did with the space shuttle program. And I don't think we're even getting as many space flights as we used to. Just making a handful of people extremely rich at the expense of the rest of us. I mean, then you have, astronauts getting stranded on the ISS for months on end without being able to go home. This didn't happen when we had the space shuttle. It clearly is a sign, like, when astronauts are getting stranded on the ISS and we're having to work with the Russians to send spaceships into space, it is clear that what we're doing now is not working. It's obvious. The US government needs to own its own spaceships. We shouldn't be renting spaceships like we're going on vacation in Greece. It's stupid. We should be owning them outright. And it's fine if we purchase them from a private company, as long as the contract doesn't really screw us on proprietary parts. That's fine with me, but we should own them, and we should have the ability to do the maintenance ourselves. The government should be able to have the mechanics for the space shuttle on staff and not need to go to a private company to repair a spaceship. That just. Come on. Very frustrating. It's dangerous. Yeah. I think that's really what will need to happen. Um, I'm gonna have to drive through this night, I think, because I will be running pretty late. Otherwise, yeah, Oh, and I can sleep through the night again. That's good. It's due on Friday, and it's Tuesday now. I have 24 hours of driving left. That works. Yeah, there's one reason for the budget deficit: tax cuts to the rich, to very obscenely wealthy people. That's why the government has a deficit. It's not because your grandma got chemotherapy. Your grandma getting chemotherapy is not why the government has a deficit. Your grandma needing memory care is not why the government has a deficit. Your grandpa getting $700 in his Social Security benefit is not why the government has a deficit. That's not the reason. The reason that the government has a. And it's not because people are going to school. The government spends very little on public education nowadays as a percentage of the budget. Most of that's down to the state and local government now. It's not the federal budget anymore. It's because of tax cuts. The tax cuts to the rich is why we have the deficit. The tax cuts of the last 25 years have made our budget $1 trillion higher than it otherwise would be. Now imagine if that $1 trillion, instead of going to pay off bondholders, was instead going to fund debt-free college. Imagine how much better that would be. If that $1 trillion, if we had, instead of people spending, here's the crazy thing. The average American would save money if we had Medicare for all or a public option. Maybe your taxes would go up a little bit, but you would end up saving money. And even if the businesses ended up spending a little more in corporate taxes, they're no longer needing to spend money on their employees' health insurance. That's just ridiculous. Oh yeah, and I had a company contact me the other day, and they said, we don't provide you any benefits, so I'd have to be paying for my health insurance out of pocket. And I have to think then, is that legal? How is that legal under the Affordable Care Act? Because doesn't that follow under the employer's mandate? It's very, it's nefarious and doesn't feel right. And, most people don't think I could. There are employers who don't hire people fully because of the healthcare expense. It kills jobs. And the answer is not to repeal the Affordable Care Act and leave people with nothing. The answer is to implement, universal health care so that employers are not strangled by these costs and that we can overall save money. Insurance companies would lose out, and But then again, I was chatting with my friend and he said, here's the thing, a lot of the health expense goes to paying doctors a lot of money. So, because I believed for a long time that it was due to just insurance companies being insurance companies, but it looks like that might not be the case anymore. Like it was true in the 2000s, but now it's due, seems a lot um, to just paying doctors a lot more than in other countries. So, I need to do more research on that, but this leads me to the question, would we actually end up saving money if it was the federal government? And, should doctors get paid $500,000 a year? I don't know. I can see arguments both ways on that. I don't know. I'm not sure which way is the best in this case. Yeah. But the one thing that I'm absolutely confident of is that um, the one thing I'm absolutely confident on right now is that cutting Medicare is not the answer. That is definitely would make most Americans worse off, and that is not something we can tolerate. Let me see, could I? I'm kind of tempted to go to that spot. I want to explore this part of the map. I haven't explored some of these roads, so let's do it. See what it looks like. Yeah. The whole situation is bad. I wish my Canadian friends could safely come visit the United States, but it's not. It's not safe. It's very frustrating. It's evil. It's evil. Like, now what's being done to Mexicans who come here to work is absolutely illegal. Well, it's not absolutely illegal, but absolutely unethical. But the real problem is on that when it comes to Mexican farm workers, that is a problem with how the law is written. But the problem with the way that Canadian and European tourists are being treated, people who have the right to come here visa free, who are not being able to come here legally, even though they have done everything right. That is not a problem with the law, that is a problem with the way the law is being administered by this administration. And it's absolutely disgusting. It's utterly disgusting. The whole thing is just disgusting. 555. It's a familiar number. That's the same area code they have in The Simpsons. Yes, I know what's going on. Anyways, yeah, it's just the whole situation. The obvious way out of it was to vote for Kamala Harris. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think she was great on every issue, but compare her to Trump, it's obvious who's worse. Trump is way worse than Harris was ever going to be. Trump is a disgusting pedophile. And Harris isn't. Biden isn't. Though he does do this weird thing where he sniffs people's hair, which was weird. But, I don't know. It's never a big Biden stan. But, you know. If I have the choice between Biden and Trump, I pick Biden. But out of all the Democrats who might have run, Biden's one of the ones I would have picked last. The whole situation is frustrating. Yup. The people who told you to calm down about Roe are the same people telling you to calm down about Medicare, in case you hadn't noticed. Yeah. Yup. Yeah, Medicare is one of the easiest programs to defend in this country. It is very easy to defend Medicare. It's a very good program and it needs to be continued. It saves money. It's way less expensive than anything else we can do. Medicare is a good program and it should be expanded. Yeah. I think AOC is going to run for president, and I think she'll be a very good president. I think she'll be excellent. I will vote for her. I will campaign for her. I will do everything I can to ensure that she becomes president in 2028. Talk about a grassroots campaign. Like, if any representative is going to be able to go straight from the House to be president, it's AOC. Her grasp of social media and her ability to make eloquent arguments are unmatched. And she's a wonderful human being, and she's going to be president. And she's going to do a phenomenal job. I'm excited to vote for her. I'll be surprised if Trump lasts an entire term. He is being so brash and hurting so many people. He's running risks of impeachment or assassination, is my view. And it's a really foolish thing to do, and I think he's going to pay for it. The question is how. The only question I have is how will he pay for it? Will it be impeachment or assassination? I don't know. I would never wish for anyone to be assassinated, but I would never wish for anyone to be assassinated. I'm just reporting it as a fact. I think he's running a big risk that he's already had several assassination attempts. I think there will be another. And I was thinking the other day, like, when he was at that rally in Pennsylvania, the fact that the bullet touched his body, where was the Secret Service? How did the Secret Service allow him to be grazed by a bullet, even if the person wasn't a very good shot? And did the Secret Service not really want to protect him? That's what I have to wonder now. Like, hold on. Is this a place I can sleep so I can actually... Yes, I'm gonna take a nap here. Oh, I could have just done that, right? No, it's a very strange time we're living in right now. That old curse, may you live in interesting times? Yeah, no, I'd rather not. I'd rather just have a stable president who does the right thing and fosters our alliances and doesn't try to undermine the Constitution. That's what I want. I want to live in America that guarantees health care to every person. I want to live in an America that has a living wage for every person. I want to live in an America where you have free speech to express yourself and not be afraid of being put on a list or deported. Yeah, I agree with that. That's what AOC said at the rally she was just at. She's running for president. She's already a candidate. She's going to be running. She's already running, and she will be there in 2028. Look, it's a Mormon church in the back. Mormon temple. And I will vote for her, and I will campaign for her. Even if I have to pay a little more in taxes at the income I'm looking at. I don't care. It's just fair. I'll say, yeah, I'm gonna be successful. I'm on the right path. And, if I end up paying a little more in taxes, and that means that, children are able to go to preschool without their parents going deep into debt. If I have the money to pay for it, it's worth it. It's fine. I have no problem with that. I paid about 25% at Infosys of my taxes. I put money in my Roth 401k, so that will be tax advantaged in retirement. I will do the same at my next job, even if I have to use a backdoor Roth. That's fine. That's legal. Either way, it's just, yeah. Yeah. Things will... I don't think we're doomed. I think we're going through a very difficult time, and Trump is burning a lot of bridges, but I hope that as soon as the United States has a a good president, I think that things will turn around. And we need someone who's going to be a lot more courageous than Biden was, because Biden was pretty moderate, pretty middle of the road, and we don't need to be compromising with these people. That's not going to work. What we need answers and just fix problems. Even if it makes some Republicans unhappy, we need to fix the problems and they'll come around. Eventually, whereas if you look at what's going on with, Biden didn't do enough to get anyone truly to be on his side. And he wasn't even able to get just things could have gone so much better. Things didn't have to be like this. Well, this truck does not like that hill. At all. Another neighbor's booming that, blasting that bass. I sure like to do that. I have a new mail. I think that means someone's truck needs a full restore. That's usually what it means. Whee! A nice little western town here. I think I'm in Arizona. I'm not sure what state I'm in right here. I like this. It's a pleasant area. South 183, right on 191. Okay. That's the state border. Dang, that's loud bass. Yeah, now we're in Arizona. This is a funny little area. No, this is still Utah. Alright. Still in Utah. Mexican water. Well, it used to be Mexico before the Mexican-American War. 1848. Oh, that's a nice area. Looks very pleasant. Looks like it gets very hot in the summer, but nice to visit this area. Jeez, it wasn't loud enough already. I'm not hurting my ears yet. I'm sure that's the goal. Yeah. A lot of there's several neighbors who do that, and I wish they wouldn't. Now we're in Arizona. Talk about rural. It's nice though. It's pretty. It's good nature. Let's see, wow. So much money, all this money. What do I do with all this money? You know, see, that's how we envision our customers. The old NVIDIA meme. Let me see here. How is my truck manager? Status. Total restore. Restore that. There's so many trucks. just so I can keep making money. Another survey. Impeach Trump. Like, seriously. Lots of parked, moving, garage. Not bad. Excusez-moi. Garage manager. Do I have any? Looks like Tucson needs a truck. Used trucks. I like the used truck feature they released last year. Saves a lot of money. Usually buy all of them. Driver manager. Recruitment agency, that's what I need. Hire a driver. Dominic, you're going to Tucson. Ralph, going to Tucson. Carell, you're going to Tucson. You're going to Tucson. Beautiful. Now we need to buy another garage. Garage purchase. I have most of... Okay, now we have to finish up Utah. Purchase price, go straight for the large. That is the most annoying thing in the world. It's so bloody loud. It's unreasonably loud. I wish they would stop. Or just go onto the highway and leave the neighborhood. Maybe they stopped. That would be great. Not a fan. Humphrey's been waiting there. Let's send him to Utah. It's all dudes. It's like, why are there only men? I don't want this company to be a sausage fest. I want diversity. Oh yeah, I really like the meme, you know. If you oppose DEI, please be clear about which part you oppose. Is it the diversity, the equity, or the inclusion? Tell me. Which part do you oppose? Yeah. Alright, that's 2 new garages filled from the money that I keep getting, and trucks are fixed, and people hired. 9 new drivers, 9 new trucks, and then 5 trucks repaired back to good working state. There we go. Alright. So I think what I want Four Corners Monument. Let's do that. That's a cop car. Let's go to the Four Corners Monument. 11 miles? Not bad. Should get some food. Have these chickpeas covered in salt. That must be it. Ah! Damn it! Welcome to New Mexico. There we go. Wonder if that's what it looks like in real life. I haven't been to any of these 4 states. Cool. That's an accomplishment. Nifty. Eat some chickpeas. Neat. Well, that's it. Super exciting stuff here. Let's do some turning around. And let's keep going down to Texas. Some trailer damage? Not even sure how I got that. Leaving that. Yeah, it looks like it's exactly like what it looks like in real life. Cool. And they have you drive in from New Mexico just like real life. Yeah, nailed it. This is a really well done game. They've researched it very well. Very well done. Yeah. Goes briefly back into Colorado. One of the fun questions I have, I've been enjoying jet lag. Surprise. I play a game like this and I enjoy travel chess. Surprise, surprise. And what I thought was, when they're playing the current season, they need to capture the most countries in Europe within 3 days. And of course, all while being on a limited budget, because of course, production costs. 1 second. I then went on to Google Earth. I said, okay. I made a spreadsheet. I asked myself, alright, if I wanted to see as many states and as many countries in the EU as possible, oh no. Which points in the EU would have the shortest radius to see the most countries? And you can approach it in either way. You can say, for a given radius X, how many countries can you get to from point Y? Versus, I want to get to, n number of countries. At what point do I need a radius of said circle? Like, a couple ways to approach it, but they should give you the same answer ultimately. Unsurprisingly, the answer was the 3 best places in Europe for such a comparison is unsurprisingly around Vienna, Austria, and around Liechtenstein and Switzerland, which ends up being, and of course, Benelux, which is indeed where they end up going. Spoilers, but not that much of a spoiler. It's just kind of obviously what you're going to do. And so if you were to play the same in the United States, it would make sense to go right here. And you got 4 states off the bat. And then you do 4 challenges, lock them down. Be hard to catch. It would be fun if they were to do the same game again in the US. I hope they do. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do most of their games outside the US, given what's going on right now. But, so in the US, if you wanted to touch 4 states, small radius, 4 corners monuments, obviously the best spot. It's the only place where it is an infinitesimal point where you can reach 4 states. There's nowhere else in the country like it. But what's your second best location? I think the next best location would be somewhere in Massachusetts, where you could hit Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire or Vermont. That would be the smallest it would probably be there. And if you wanted to do 5 states, it would be again somewhere in Massachusetts, throwing in Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and then 6 with Maine. If you were in Delaware, you can hit obviously New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland pretty quick. If you go, there's going to be a spot, there has to be a spot in Maryland where you can hit Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. And if you count DC as a state, and you should, that would again give you a very a good place to do it. What other spots do we have in this country? You could do... There are very few decent spots in the West, because the states out here are just so big. Let's see here. Well, from New York City, you can get to Connecticut, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania with little difficulty. I mean, the Northeast is clearly the best spot. Best place to be. Okay, we're gonna stay on here and keep going, as the map says. You could potentially, there's a spot in Virginia where you could get to North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia pretty easily, but you're in the mountains. So you could do that. Near Cape Girardeau, Missouri, the little Missouri panhandle there, Portageville, all of that, which will be in this game soon. Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas. 1, 2, 3. That's a pretty good spot. Also get Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas. 4 states pretty easily in those spots, but I think really the stretch from Mississippi up to Illinois, they're not that far apart. 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives you 6 states. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is basically as good as New England, I think. That's close to as, not quite as good as New England, but that's probably the second best place to go to 6 states in a short amount of time. That's probably the easiest way. There, aside from Four Corners, there is no real good spot in the West. I mean, you could do Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, just as the crow flies, but then you're driving through the Rockies and you don't really have a good highway. Yeah, you could do Highway 12 there, which is not terrible, but that would work. Nebraska to Minnesota, you could get 4 states with Iowa and South Dakota. Volvo truck dealer discovered. Most excellent. That's not good. But yeah, it's kind of a fun thing to do. Canada, you don't really have any great spots for it, except for Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and New Brunswick. Canadian geography just isn't ideal for that sort of game. They just only have 10 provinces and they're all gigantic except for Maritimes. So, in terms of Europe, basically the places I mentioned already. staying in the Schengen area for travel reasons. Actually, do I want to take 64? I mean, I've done 550. Let's go the route less traveled. Let's take 64 across. Yeah, not right now. Why does it say MDT for Galveston, though? That's where I'm a little confuzzled. Because it's clearly CDT. It's a pretty rock. That would be fun to climb. Yeah. Let's see what else. I mean, the Caucasus. You could do Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey with little difficulty, except for the god-awful state of relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan and Turkey. Just irritating. In terms of Africa, I suppose, you know, you could do Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, Tanzania, and the DRC. That gives you 5. Might be the best. Drive from Lagos to Abidjan gives you 5. There are not very many good spots for that game in Africa. Ooh, but if you look at the map of Indian states, you could potentially have some fun with that. I need to stay on my side of the road here. I'm distracted. All sorts of possibilities. 18 hours to go. You see how I'm just constantly getting income in this game from all my drivers? It's really nice. It's just a constant stream of money. What I'm going to do with all this money? I don't even notice it anymore. It's always there. Yeah. It would be interesting if you saw a lot of these larger countries break up into smaller countries, but highly, highly unlikely. And then you look at, where are there active separatist movements? Places like Kurdistan, Palestine. There aren't very many. Like, Bougainville is going to be independent at some point this decade. That's the next country that's likely to be recognized. by the UN, but yeah. And as there are more countries, there means there are more places to play the game that Jetleg's doing this year to capture countries. But still, there are a lot of factors to play. Lot to consider. They are still doing that loud bass thumping noise. I dare not call it music. It's not music. When they say music to my ears, that's not music to my ears. Honestly, the sound of the truck in the game doesn't annoy me that much. Yeah. It's not too bad. Santa Fe, I should spend time with my cousins. That would be fun. I miss them. Be nice to spend time with them. Friend is playing Valheim. It'd be fun to just make a bunch of money and travel the world. I really did do everything in my power to prevent Trump from being elected, and I could have done campaigning for Harris, but I didn't feel like I needed to. But I just can't believe she lost. I do. I mean, she definitely lost, but you know, I would not. I'd be a lot more suspicious of election interference if Republicans had won the Senate elections in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Arizona by very narrow margins. But the fact that Democrats kept those 3 seats and Nevada and Harris lost those states, I don't think it was fraud. It doesn't feel like it. Alright, we're gonna go down to Albuquerque here. I just think she lost. I don't even think it was sexism or racism. I think it had to do with the issues. But not the progressive issues. I think it was the more moderate positions. Those are the ones that she polled poorly on. Like, I've looked at the opinion polls plenty of times. I'm pretty confident I'm right on this. And yeah, I'm pretty confident that Harris lost because her positions on a number of issues were too moderate, which led to her losing key voters in key states. Biden's immigration policy alienated a lot of Hispanic, Latino voters, and not exactly sure why you saw African Americans not turn out for Harris, but they did turn out for Clinton, they did turn out for Obama, and they did turn out for Alyssa Slotkin on the same day. something else. We need better polling data on African American voters in the Midwest to figure out why exactly they just, a lot of them just didn't mark for the presidency. And I'm not convinced that it's pure sexism. Because then Alyssa Slotkin would have lost. That doesn't make sense. I don't think that's it. We need more polling data. I'm sure that really comes down to that. We need more polling data on the election, on these key demographics. That's really what it comes down to. Anyways, welcome to beautiful Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I'm just noticing, like, if you compare these highways to the highways in Euro Truck Simulator, these are so much nicer to drive on. They're nice wide shoulders, and honestly, I don't have a problem with these highways, just don't put them in a city. Just cities shouldn't have these, but in the countryside, go wild. Not too wild, but I don't have a problem with it. As long as they're not dividing up urban neighborhoods. Yeah, that's basically it. I think another neighbor will get the door for them today. It's the weekend, so I'm not the only person here. No, that's not what I want. I wasn't sure if I was all the way zoomed out on my map yet. We have 1,500 kilometers to go. Okay, I need to open the door for the mail. Now get some food. Back in a second. There. There we go. Eat a cookie. Is it working nicely? when they play that loud noise long enough, my brain just stops. I'm just not able to think. My ability to comprehend just goes away. In this game, that's not an issue because it's really not that. This is a relaxing game, not a mentally stimulating game, but it's still just... I like to play this game and talk about issues, and after enough of that loud pounding in the background, I'm just not able to do it. I was doing a test a week ago, and then my neighbor just starts playing this really loud bass, and my ability to get the test done just went away. I just couldn't do it. There's no consideration about how they impact others. They just don't care. They just don't care. I mean, that's really like what's happening to America, is that people are just becoming so apathetic towards each other. And that leads to, that further empowers Trump. And like, yeah, loud noise in the background being played in the neighborhood at the wrong hours, that's not the worst thing in the world, but it is a sign of apathy. You don't care about how you impact other people. You don't care about any of that. And that's a problem. I mean, it doesn't matter if other people are going to treat you poorly. You still need to be the better person. Like, there are things I can say that are true about people that I choose not to broadcast because I just don't feel like that's right. If it's a personal matter, I don't want to, treat people that way, and it's the problem is you end up then with people getting, but the problem is you can then end up with bullies just treating other people like trash. And I wish I knew. I just don't want to be that person who tattles on people. And like, there are some times where I just have to say, okay, this person is really not someone I want to be around for whatever reason. But there are other cases where people have been quite abusive and towards me or others, and I get very suspicious about what they might do to somebody else, and I can't think with that noise in the background. I just can't. It's just so annoying. And it just comes back to apathy and not giving a shit about other people, which is just, society breaks down. Society doesn't work with that. Part of me wants to move back to the Pacific Northwest. Part of me does and part of me doesn't. It's complicated. I'm gonna get gas in Tucumcari. Part of me does, and I know people who do, but part of me really doesn't, knowing what will happen. And just, when I came to New York, I thought I had everything set up just the way it needed to be. I had an excellent job, joined a wonderful UU church, and I thought that was going to give me a nice, stable foundation for my life, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. I need to look at the map properly here. Need to get gas. Okay, just get off at the second exit. Okie dokie. Yeah, it's just what to do. what to do. It's the tricky part. Just things happened, and I might be leaving the area very soon, and if I do, I don't think I will move back. I might not. There are things I love about New York. Like, this is a great city, and if you can make it work, it's the most livable place in North America. At least the United States, but, just a few things. Of course, the one I automatically drift towards is the one that doesn't have a gas pump. E and enter. Yeah, there's nothing to see. I'll drive through the night. About to enter Texas. Pretty boring state. Been driving since Washington State with this delivery. There we go. Finish this up, go get some food. That's my plan. That's what I want to do. And go through the pretty parts. Just so much loud noise. It never ends. Welcome to Texas. Central Time Zone. I might be going all the way to Oklahoma. The winds go gusting down the plain. It's like I will be. Works for me. Get to Oklahoma City and then go south. I have no problem with that. Just constant money coming in. It's just great. I'm making well over $1 million a day. It's funny. I think the game assumes the taxes are already taken out. I assume. Because why wouldn't you? Yeah, let's go through Oklahoma City. Talk, text, crash. Not too worried about it. Not really. It's kind of funny. Most drivers say they're above average. It's amusing. Sign is to Fort Worth, not Dallas, but Fort Worth. Let me see. In terms of map completion, I've done both. It's nighttime. Let's take the short one. Kind of surprised 287 isn't an interstate. Like 38 or something like that. When I come to a fork in the road, I take it. Love that line by Click and Clack and Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra was a wise man. He always knew what to say. Good guy. Yogi Berra, big fan. He had a way with words. He did. It's kind of amazing that. Hold on. I made that. The bass is gone. That is so nice. The bass is gone. Finally. But I find it interesting that, my big economics project is regarding open border policies. And now look at what Trump is doing. Quite the opposite. I'm just like, God damn it. This is exactly what I've been working on, and I just wish there was a group here in the US that could really be used, that I could work with to properly advocate for better border policies that would, actually target terrorists, but for low risk countries have true visa-free access. And I don't think there is such an organization. That's the problem. And the base is back. But I might start one in a few years. I got in touch with some people working on the nationalization of American railroads, which is another issue I'm very passionate about and something I would like to see. So hopefully that will turn into an actually successful project. If we could just get it so that when railroads are, discontinued, they become property of Amtrak, that Amtrak gets that right of way. That by itself would be a huge step in the right direction. There are so many abandoned railroads across the country. If Amtrak had control of them, Amtrak could build up a full network separate from that of the big four. But yeah, I just don't see any other way to really get it to work. Realistically. And that's why it's not an interstate. That's a really tight bend. There are a bunch of reasons this road isn't an interstate. It's not up to standard. Anyways, I'm curious to see where I go in the near future with getting a and they want an inspection. Big Texas government. Right. Not really. I'm joking. But am I? It's fine. It's not a big deal. I know. I'll probably get my repairs done once things are... Get back on the highway. You take the low road and I'll take the high road. And this is me taking the high road. Okie dokie. Small Texas town. The intersection of two big highways. 2 U.S. highways. So a lot of these grow up from nothing, where 2 trails meet. Do some services, serve people going each direction. Yeah. Often I wonder, like, should the U.S. even stay together? Should the South just go their own way? Maybe. But then I see, how Georgia flipped in 2000, and then I doubt that. Wow. We are closing major airports in America in the middle of the day because there's insufficient staff to man the control tower. Thanks, Doge. Austin Airport issues ground stop for flights from Houston and Dallas due to FAA staffing issue. That's great. That's exactly what we need. They're just trying to tear everything down. AOC's running in 28. I just know it. And she's going to do so well. I can't wait for it. I should listen to the Eurovision songs this year. That would be fun. Don't usually follow it, but I might do that this year. See what's going on. What's your excuse for not being happy, says one connection, and the other person says, me, happy? I am NAFO. That's funny. That is awesome. Duggos. We are Duggos. We are Doge. We are the actual Doge. We are not Doge, but NAFO with Duggo. We are NAFO Duggo. We are Legion. We are fighting for democracy and freedom and stuff. Be afraid. Be very afraid, fascists. We are coming for you. That's funny. But seriously, I've been very active fighting Russian bullshit online, and I will continue until Ukraine wins, which is the only way the war will end. Actually end. A ceasefire. I mean, Russia's bombing Odessa during a so-called ceasefire. It's been a major win for Russia. Ukraine has stopped bombing Russian oil refineries. They've pulled out of Kursk, and Russia's bombed Odessa to rubble. Zelensky needs to stand up to Trump and say, look, you're clearly not looking at our interests at heart. Russia's clearly taking advantage of this. Go to Europe. And he already is. There's signs that they're working behind the back right now between Zelensky and the European Union on providing weapons to Ukraine. And once the EU does that, with the U.S. sideline, they should be able to... things will change. Things will get better. I really believe that. I really, really believe that is true. Oh, look. You see that I did start going up I-44 before the Oklahoma expansion and then I just stopped? Yeah, that's because I did it before Oklahoma was released. But now I could continue going up 44 and complete the map, but I just haven't done that yet. There are only 2 ways that the Ukraine war can actually end. Either Ukraine will join NATO, or Ukraine will be fully occupied by Russia, or there will be endless war. That's it. There is no other way. Either Ukraine will be fully annexed by Russia, or Ukraine will win the war, get all of their territory back, and join NATO. Doubt me? Well, option 1, as I did in my blog yesterday, I really feel proud of this decision tree. I think it makes it very clear. Option 1 is for Ukraine to be annexed by Russia, like happened in 1921. The consequence was, of course, the Holodomor, genocide. Now, while it technically ends the war, it doesn't bring peace. So that's not really a solution at all and cannot be considered. So moving on from that, if you do a temporary ceasefire like we did in 2014 and like Trump has been trying to push Ukraine into now, what you end up with is what we're seeing now, where where Ukraine respects the ceasefire, Russia does not. Ukraine pulls out of Kursk, and Russia bombs Odessa. So it clearly doesn't work. And that is the ceasefire midway. Option 3 is Ukraine has territorial integrity, which the only way they're going to realistically do that is by winning the war. Okay, so let's look at it. If Ukraine, we started by having that in 1991. Ukraine had full territorial integrity. According to international law, things should then have worked just fine. And I need to be careful with the signs here. Fort Worth, stay left. Got it. And we did that, and it worked for 23 years until Russia decided to invade in 2014. So the only path left is where Ukraine has full territorial integrity and is a member state of NATO, and someday the European Union, but NATO first. That will provide Ukraine the military security which will deter Russian attacks because of Article 5. And once that occurs, or Russia will be destroyed as a country, those are their options. And then Ukraine, not needing to put such a huge percent of their budget into military, can focus on rooting out corruption and getting themselves in line with the EU acquis. And once they've done that, there's really no reason why Ukraine will not be able to join the EU once they've dealt with those acquis that they're not meeting yet. Those are the options left. Those are the only possibilities. So that means there are only 2 possible endpoints for Ukraine. Either it's a repeat of 1921, which will definitely lead to a genocide, or it's Ukrainian membership of NATO, which we haven't done yet. Those are the only real options. Everything else is fantasy. Everything else is fantasy. And that is why I am NAFO. That is why I post NAFO articles on Blue Sky. That is why I post NAFO content on Facebook. And that is why I make it very clear that the only real way for Ukraine to get to a real state of peace which is not just the absence of war, but the absence also of tyranny, is for them to join NATO. There is no other way. There is no other way. It is the only real path to peace. Everything else is a fantasy. Welcome to game theory. Welcome to international relations. Welcome to political science. That's just the math. So, given that the United States is effectively occupied as long as Donald Trump is president, something I really wish I never had to say, the only realistic way to peace is for Europe to take the military weapons they already have, which yesterday I demonstrated here is more than enough budget already to win the war against Russia. All the EU needs to do is send the weapons they already have to Ukraine, give Ukraine the full autonomy and ability to strike the Russian military where it hurts and is legal under international law, obviously. And once that is done, Putin will have no other real option. The only way this is possibly going to work is for the European Union to do that, and for Ukraine to stop honestly, what Ukraine did accepting this ceasefire agreement, which was obviously half-assed from the beginning, is he has now proven that Donald Trump is not a great negotiator. He's not able to strike a deal. He's not intelligent. And he's not able to do all this nonsense he said he was going to do. Where there may have been a doubt about that in the beginning, any doubt of that now is gone. And Zelensky has now proven that Trump is not not someone to trust. And so now he can go to the European Union. He can point out that Trump is not negotiating in good faith, that he does not have Ukraine's best interest in heart. I'm pretty certain they're already doing this. And once that happens, I believe it's fairly obvious now that the EU is going to support Ukraine more, give Ukraine what they need to win, and then we can finally see a real solution to what's going on. And the solution is the only realistic solution is for Ukraine to win the war. Take back Crimea, take back Donbass, take back Luhansk. It is the only realistic way it's going to work. There's no other real path. And that is what we need to know. It's what Americans are figuring out. It's what Europeans are figuring out. It's what Ukrainians have figured out. As soon as the EU sends Ukraine those weapons with no restrictions and Ukraine successfully destroys the Russian military, the world will be a safer place. Okay, I've got this person on my right preventing me from getting into the lane I need to get into. I think, hold on. East Dallas is here. Okie dokie. Map wants me to take 20, game wants me to go 20 east to 45 down to Galveston. Works for me. Good morning, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. 6 o'clock, the sun is rising. And I pray that the weapons are delivered soon, that Ukraine resumes striking Russian oil refineries, destroys all of them, and then the Russian military is stopped in their tracks. Ukraine can then be supplied from oil from Norway. They can push Russia out of Ukraine, win the war, and then the EU can give them security guarantees until the United States till Americans take back our country. Once all of that is completed, I see no reason why things will not progress properly. I think that is what will happen. I think that is the future. I mean, I think it's the only real path that does not lead to tyranny. And I do not support tyranny. I hate watching people get hurt. I hate watching people be harmed, and this whole situation is abhorrent. The whole situation is absolutely abhorrent. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Texas is so different. You just leave it at that. From in the way it designs its highways in so many respects, this state is unlike any other. God, imagine if Texas went blue in 28. That would be incredible. Honestly, if Trump pisses off enough people and that gets, a lot of Hispanics in Texas to vote for a Democrat for governor, that could happen. I mean, Cruz has been barely winning the last few elections. It's been very narrow margins. So it's possible for Democrats to win in Texas. Take some elbow grease, but it's definitely possible for Democrats to win. I think it's worth fighting for. It's worth a lot of electoral college votes. I think it's worthwhile. All right, going down 45. Yeah, I think there's a chance. With some elbow grease, we can win in Texas. Also, it looks like American Truck Simulator is saving North and South Dakota for last. They're going to do Illinois before the Dakotas. I guess that makes sense from a business perspective. Because once you can market to all the people in Chicago, hey, Chicago is now in Euro Truck Simulator. That makes sense to me. Let's see. Just looking at... That was the right... Misery's coming out on April 3rd. Illinois is planned, Iowa's planned, Louisiana. Okay, right now it's 3 hours in game to travel from Bellingham to Brownsville. That seems pretty accurate from what I've been doing so far. Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. The wiki says, meaning it will be a very large game once the entire map is completed. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Okay, so... States. Blah. Got it. So the states they have planned are Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and Louisiana. Those are the ones that are planned. So right now it's about 3 hours to go from Brownsville to Bellingham. And given how long it's taken me here to just go between, southeastern Oregon, and I'm still not to Houston yet, that's quite a drive. I'm excited for Missouri to be released in just a couple weeks. I will buy it. I should have money by then. Yeah. They have a list of future states. The future states are all the states that haven't already been announced, essentially. Those are the future states. Bleh. Oh, I totally missed the way station. No, I didn't. There we go. There we go. There's the bypass. They're saying you need to fix your truck up. I will once I get down to Galveston. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what. Any mail? No, nothing. Huntsville? They don't have Alabama yet. Oh, wait, wrong Huntsville. Oh, I don't think I've driven on this road yet. Huh, I haven't completed 45 yet. That's funny. Okay. It's gonna feel so good when they get their first state on the actual Atlantic Ocean. Not just the Gulf of Mexico, but the Atlantic. That will happen. Yeah. Yeah. Down we go. It's like I started to drive up here once and then I didn't go all the way. But now I've completed 45. Small lag there. Lag, laggy, lag. Streaming and playing this game. Huh, that's interesting. Some rando. Nice. I'm sorry. Signs to Houston. Right, because US 59 is going to turn into I-69, which is going to go all the way from Brownsville up to like Detroit. The reality is we haven't built many more interstates because we don't really need a lot more. The whole country's connected. There are very few places. Honestly, if we want infrastructure projects, rails. Build more railroads. Stop turning railroads into trails and build more railroads. Or annex the one. Have Amtrak bring back Conrail and invest that money we're building I-69 with, which will probably have very low usage, and instead improve tracks. And have them be publicly owned so that they don't end up just getting squandered. If you want to spend money on infrastructure, that's going to be your best expenditure, as long as we, keep costs under reasonable control. That is the best thing to do right now, in my opinion. What a crazy intersection. 10 west to San Antonio. 45 downtown. I know. I don't like it either. Better watch yourselves. Wanted men. Oh my god. I was watching Robot Chicken last night. Robot Chicken Star Wars. And oh my gosh. That is such a great episode. No, we're not that. He's lying. Don't trust a word he says. And then Obi-Wan slashes his arm off. You're like, no! I'm sorry, your drawing arm has been slashed off. We can't keep you on anymore. But I can do it. Look. It's so sad. I really feel sorry for the dude. He didn't deserve that. Obi-Wan, Jedi bad, slashed off his arm. Jedi bad. Then, of course, there was the whole... I think he actually pointed the gun at Luke in the movie, and that's why he got his arm chopped off. It's... Robot Chicken is so good. But I was doing that last night. Just kind of bored by myself. Again. Tired of being alone. Gets really old. There's only so much Robot Chicken one can watch. Yeah. It'll change someday. I don't know when. I thought I was with somebody the last month or so, but she's overwhelmed with other things and I haven't seen her in over a week. It's been almost 2 weeks now. Sounds like that's not going to work out. She's poly and looks like being poly's not working for her anymore. I didn't expect that, but also was a little suspicious about how well it would work in the long run, but c'est la vie. I'm used to disappointment. That's a horrible thing to say. What I want is to have a good job, make good money, and instead of playing video games at home on the weekend, be, doing fun stuff with friends. But it's been a pretty crazy year for me. It's been a really crazy year. Ad for Kansas. I already own it. Yeah. Tiki Island actually does sound kind of fun. I-60 nice and I-45. I like saying that. It's dumb. And look at that. The Gulf of Mexico. Galveston. That is what I like to call a very long drive. Whee! It's pretty. It is. Kind of crazy how Texas has become so conservative. Ridiculous. Alright, so we need to get off here. Welcome to Galveston. Thank you. Freeway ends. Yep. Ah, Sea Horizon. That's a brand in this game they do a lot. If you're shipping a boat. I've done some shipping of boats all the way from Texas to Washington. That takes a while. It's so funny, like, they wanted to call my home state Washington so it didn't get confused with the District of Columbia. The irony. The irony. Come on, light. Let's do it. 3 kilometers, 10 minutes. I guess we could just cancel delivery now. Nah. I want to make $200,000. Whatever. These intersections are abysmal. They're all the same. Which would be fine if it was a good design. I like DDIs. DDIs are good. I like roundabout intersections. Those are good. And really, as long as your highways are being kept out of your downtowns, it's okay to prioritize car traffic around your highway as long as you're not running it directly through your city. That's fine. The problem is that we're running our highways through our cities, and then we have, these Bad intersection designs. Tired of waiting. Huh, didn't charge me. That's nice. Oh wow, that's a lot of train tracks. Port of Galveston. Ah, this must be being exported. That doesn't make sense. Why would I drive it from Washington to Texas to then be put on a ship? Why not just put it on a ship in Washington? We have the Port of Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, and Bellingham. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Whatever. I won't complain. I'll just take the cash. Washington license plate. Always. Far from home. You look at that. We're almost done. Sure, I'll get some. I don't need it. I don't need the XP. I've maxed everything out. Woohoo! Shoreside delivery. Wow, that was a damage penalty. I got $215,000. I got a today. 4 corners. Yay, hooray. Achievements. Interesting. What do we have? Let's see. Anyways, that's good. I don't even know which one. It like briefly showed that I don't know. Anyways. Okay, so I think that's good. I'll cancel that. Have a good day.